stomping on it. Police think that he was on drugs. Well, that wraps up this hour of Fox and Friends First. Thank you so much for joining us. Fox and Friends First continues right now. Bye-bye.
Unless there was some proposal that the president actually was okay with and said he was willing to sign. Short answer, not on the agenda in the Senate.
It is Thursday, June 7th. While you were sleeping, the House taking steps to crack down on the vicious MS-13 gang. The brand new bill just passed as an immigration showdown looms on Capitol Hill today. We are live in Washington.
James Comey under scrutiny. Did the fired FBI boss defy authority during the Clinton probe? The brand new leadership questions that are now being raised.
And keeping the girl in Girl Scouts. How the head of the organization is sticking to tradition, saying that leaders were blindsided by the move made by their counterpart. Fox and Friends First continues right now.
Come on, some House of Pain to get your Thursday going.
Hey, Thursday's a great day. One of my favorite of the week.
If that doesn't wake you up, then really nothing will, probably.
There you go.
I love look outside. The skyline of Manhattan looking pretty.
Yeah, very nice. A little cloudy. We'll take it.
Yeah, why not? Good morning. You're watching Fox and Friends First on this Thursday. I'm Jillian Muley.
I'm Rob Schmidt. We're going to start jumping around here in a second. Thanks for starting your day with us. Let's get right to the latest in Washington. You're taking a live look right now at Capitol Hill, where the fight over immigration will take center stage today.
House Republicans working to come up with an agreement hours after Congress set aside $50 million to combat violent gangs like MS-13.
Griff Jenkins is live in Washington with what it'll take to strike a DACA deal. Hey, Griff.
Good morning, Rob and Jillian. That's a tough question to answer because immigration has long divided the GOP. The only thing we know for sure is that there is no clear deal, or the House leaders wouldn't be taking things behind closed doors. Today's meeting comes after negotiations between conservatives and moderates fell apart, with citizenship for DACA recipients as the sticking point. Although chairman of the Freedom Caucus, Mark Meadows, had this to say.
We had good discussions on how you take a DACA population and make sure that they don't have to face deportation. Ultimately, how do they get a bridge into a legal immigration system?
Now, complicating matters, moderate Republicans working with Democrats appear closer to reaching that magic number of votes, 218 needed, on a so-called discharge petition, which would go around House leadership in force action on 4 separate bills. But Speaker Paul Ryan appears optimistic.
I feel good about the kind of conversations we're having. Our members are earnest and sincere in trying to understand each other's perspectives. We have a big swath of views within our conference on this issue, and I really do believe that there's a sweet spot.
This as lawmakers did make progress elsewhere on border-related issues, passing a bill authorizing $50 million in grants to fight MS-13 gangs. Only 13 House members voted against it. And down on the border, the crackdown continues. Latest numbers from May show nearly 52,000 arrests for May, bringing the total number on the year to 215,000. But finally, over in the Senate, Leader McConnell was asked about bringing up immigration again this year. He says didn't see it happening. Rob, Jillian?
Okay. We'll see how today turns out. Griff, thanks so much.
And Congress has been at an impasse on immigration since President Trump took office. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell even telling Martha McCallum that it's not even on the Senate's agenda this summer.
But former ICE agent David Ward says that's not surprising since Congress can't finish any job, let alone one as important as securing the border.
Every time Congress comes up with something, there's always they're giving, but not putting up for the security that we've wanted. Now, we went through the Secure Fence Act of 2006. That was never funded properly. Then we had last year there was a bill introduced in Congress, finished the Fence Act of 2017. Anytime Congress gets involved in something, they do not complete the job. It's mind-boggling. I'm sure your viewers don't know that only 750 miles of border border actually exists, and only 350 miles of pedestrian border actually is up. That's the problem the president is facing. Matter of fact, the president will have an easier time negotiating with the North Koreans under nuclear disarmament than negotiating with Congress to secure our border.
Well, in Congress's defense, they've been doing a pretty good job this year anyway. Both sides of the aisle demanding answers from the FBI about an informant planted in the Trump campaign. The Senate Judiciary Committee requesting a full unredacted copy of the FBI's confidential human source policy. The letter signed by Republican Chuck Grassley and Democrat Dianne Feinstein. In the House Oversight Committee Chairman Trey Gowdy says the FBI did everything right, using an informant in the campaign.
Quote, insubordinate and defying authority. A new report slamming James Comey's leadership at the FBI. According to ABC, a draft of the looming Inspector General's Clinton email report claims Comey went behind the DOJ's back when reopening the investigation in 2016. The report also calling out Obama-era Attorney General Loretta Lynch's handling of the probe. The highly anticipated Inspector General's report is expected to be released before Michael Horowitz's testimony next week. Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton says it's going to shed light on the type of corruption inherited by President Trump.
President Trump inherited a terribly corrupt leadership at the FBI, and he cleaned house by firing Comey. This IG report confirms, essentially, it looks like, that he did the right thing. Ironically, Mr. Rosenstein came to the same conclusion in excoriating Mr. Comey's handling of the Clinton email investigation. Not so much the sham investigation itself, but the fact is that it was a sham investigation, and rather than confront it directly, he attacked Hillary Clinton to distract from the fact that he was protecting her. What a despicable act by him, and the IG tore him apart.
For more than a year, Horowitz has been reviewing how the FBI and DOJ handled the investigation into Hillary Clinton's private email server.
All right, the countdown to the Singapore showdown is on. World leaders prepping for the North Korea summit, which is now just 6 days away. Today, Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe will meet with President Trump at the White House. They're expected to discuss security concerns and the fate of 12 Japanese citizens abducted by North Korea in the 1970s and 1980s, a long time ago. An American suspected of fighting for ISIS will soon walk free. The unidentified man was turned over to U.S. troops in Iraq after being captured in Syria last year. The White House wanted to move him to Saudi Arabia, but their plan was rejected by a federal court. Now the Pentagon wants to release him somewhere in Syria because there's not enough evidence to charge him, but he's refusing to go to Syria, and the ACLU wants to block his release, calling that move a death warrant.
President Trump hosting his first White House dinner celebrating the Islamic holy month of Ramadan. The president offering a message of unity, welcoming diplomats from Muslim countries to the iftar dinner, breaking
CMT Music Awards, a rocking fan-voted show also known as country music's loudest night. The volume was turned up at a performance-packed CMTs, including a standout moment by Carrie Underwood, the most awarded artist in the show's history with a total now of 18, after winning Female Video of the Year for The Champion, featuring Ludacris. Chris Stapleton, Kelly Clarkson also performing. Plus, host Little Big Town introducing a tune for the season, Summer Fever. The group kicking things off with an opening spoof of the royal wedding.
All I can say is
the Biggie Video of the Year voted on throughout the show, given to Blake Shelton for I'll Name the Dogs. Shelton also taking male video honors. Dan and Shay nabbing the Duo Trophy for Tequila. Carly Pierce taking Breakthrough Video for Every Little Thing. And giving a great acceptance speech shout out.
To the guy that broke my heart,
and Backstreet is back and making quite a showing in country music, getting the crowd dancing and winning Best Performance for a rendition of Everybody with Florida Georgia Line. New music, new award winners, kicking off the music-filled summer season. In Nashville, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
And that was Ashley Dvorkin giving us a recap of the awards last night there.
We jumped the gun on the video. That was going to be the next story, the CMT story.
We were just very excited to see, a recap of the night.
There you go.
All right, let's get right to a Fox News alert now. Terrorists taking to the skies more than ever before. The brand new warning just sent to Congress.
And desperate for a deal, the Obama administration accused of giving a known terror sponsor access to the U.S. financial system, or at least attempting to. Congressman Barry Loudermilk says he's been against the Iran deal from the start. His opinion's coming up next.
And how about this? A liberal mayor was so happy to remain a sanctuary for illegals, he did a little dance. Why the ruling is hitting a sour note with some of his voters.
But first, here's Sam Hunt singing Downtown's Dead on last night's CMT Awards.
In and out of cars. Man, I bet the bars are making a killing everywhere I go. Looks like the place to be. I see people that I know, but I feel like there's no one here but me.
The Obama administration, during the negotiation of the Iran deal, misled the American people. On the one hand, they were saying that the Iranians were not going to get access to the American financial system. On the other hand, they actually granted Iran a specific license to allow them to take some of the funds. I think they did so because they were desperate to get a deal.
Big new development on Iran. GOP lawmakers accusing the Obama administration of deliberately misleading the American public by giving Iran, or attempting to give Iran, access to the U.S. financial system in its desperation to get the Iran nuclear deal done.
GOP Congressman Barry Loudermilk sits on the Homeland Security Committee and served as an intel specialist in the Air Force. He joins us now to react. Thank you for joining us. Now, look, on one hand, you have Jarrett Blank, the former State Department coordinator for the Iran deal implementation, saying that this is just widely overblown. On the other hand, you heard the same thing we heard just a minute ago in that interview. What's your take of this?
Well, it's ironic that you had the previous administration, Barack Obama in 2007, criticize the federal government by saying too many deals were done behind closed door and just done by the stroke of the president's pen without engaging the American people or going behind the halls of Congress. That's exactly what was done here. Repeatedly, the administration reported to Congress that they would have no access to American financial system, but behind closed doors and with the stroke of the pen, they're giving a license away. It's unbelievable the level of non-transparency that we're seeing now that's been happening in the previous administration.
Sir, what's so funny about it is that this actually didn't get done, that the administration told a couple of banks, hey, do this for us. You've got the president and the White House saying, please do this for us. And these companies, these banks were smart enough to know that this is not something that should be done, even with the White House giving them the approval.
Well, and you're right. And, there's enough patriotism still in this country, especially with our banks, our financial system, that they know the difference between right and wrong. They understand that President Rouhani had repeatedly said that the chance of death to America is what unites their country. And you've got Khomeini, who denies the Holocaust. They hate Israel. They hate the United States, refer to us as the Great Satan. I served on a special task force tracking terrorist travel on Homeland Security Committee. And we uncovered so much of what Iran is doing, supporting Hamas and Hezbollah and helping actually bring terrorists into the Middle East and to the United States. And yet this money that we were supposedly sanctioned, the previous president was actually helping get into the hands of the Iranians, which ultimately ends in the hands of terrorists.
On one hand, you want to ask, why is this still so controversial, years later? But on the other hand, when you get more information and when you learn more, you kind of get your answer to that. How would you have liked to see this handled all along?
Well, first of all, this entire deal should have gone through Congress. And the reason the president didn't do that is because he knows that Congress would not approve a deal like this, a deal that basically empowers one of our greatest enemies, enemy that has threatened to destroy the United States and our closest ally in the Middle East, Israel. When you look at the deal was so lopsided, one-sided in their favor. All the money, he even went as far as secretly providing them $1.7 billion in American cash. This money went straight into increasing their military and supporting terrorists, and so this should have gone through Congress. It should have been a treaty, which would have never happened, and that's exactly why the president went the route that he did.
It is interesting that whenever you hear Obama supporters and typically Democrats will say, you know, this was their way of preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. They don't understand what conservatives didn't like about this deal. But as you just said, all of that money that was dumped into that country was used to try and spread that ideology that runs that country to build up more Irans in the world. Talk about a bad decision for the future. Maybe in the short term, it potentially could have worked in some kind of way, but in the future, you're creating a mess.
You absolutely are, and you just look at it from the aspect of they've continued to violate the sanctions we agreed to in the bill, but the money that they received, they immediately started purchasing anti-aircraft missiles. They're strengthening their military. Look, this is a rogue regime that hates the United States. They hate freedom. They hate everything that we stand for, and we know that they're going to violate the sanctions. We know that they have continued to try to develop weapons. Look, as part of the agreement, they banned us access to their military installations, which is, if anybody in the right mind would understand, if you're going to develop a nuclear weapon, you just move it to your military installations and deny access to the inspectors. This is how asinine this entire deal was. It was, again, it was in the philosophy of leading from behind of the previous administration, which basically we understand now was behind the backs of the American people and behind the backs of Congress.
All right. Sir, thank you so much, Congressman, for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
19 minutes after the hour, she threatened to harm herself, so police came to help. So why is Chelsea Manning outraged that officers did a welfare check?
I want to thank President Donald John Trump.
That right there, folks, that's freedom. And it's thanks to President Trump. So why is this happy moment triggering Democrats? Jackie Ibanez is here reading your comments next. Good morning.
All right, Alice Marie Johnson, now a free woman. President Trump commuting her drug sentence after reality star Kim Kardashian fought for her release.
But her reunion with family and friends is facing opposition from Democrats. Jackie Ibanez joins us live with the latest. Good morning, Jackie.
Hi, good morning, Robin Jillian. It's a moment that Alice Marie Johnson surely will cherish forever. The 72-year-old great-grandmother running into the arms of family and friends after President Trump grants her clemency. Watch.
I want to thank President Donald John Trump. Thank you. Thank you for giving me another chance in life and restoring me to my family.
Johnson served 21 years of her life sentence in an Alabama prison for taking part in a drug ring. The White House issuing a statement saying, quote, Ms. Johnson has accepted responsibility for her past behavior and has been a model prisoner over the past 2 decades. Despite receiving a life sentence, Alice worked hard to rehabilitate herself in prison and act as a mentor to her fellow inmates. Kim Kardashian, who met with President Trump just last week to lobby for her release. You remember that photo? She expressed her gratitude on Twitter, saying this: the phone call I just had with Alice will forever be one of my best memories. Telling her for the first time and hearing her screams while crying together is a moment I will never forget. Instead of celebrating, though, some Democrats are accusing President Trump of favoring famous people, of course.
It should be done on the basis of fairness to all the people that way. Everyone should have an equal chance, not someone who Kim Kardashian whispers in his ear about.
And President Trump is also reportedly in the early stages of pardoning at least 30 people, including former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich and Martha Stewart.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people have certainly made their opinions known on social media about this one. So what are people saying this morning, Jackie?
All right, so we asked everyone on social media, why do Democrats oppose President Trump around every corner, it seems? And Ron on Twitter says the Democrats oppose everything President Trump tries to accomplish because that is the only thing they know how to do. Julie on Facebook says, so happy for this poor woman. God bless her and put her on a path that shows her gratitude for the second chance our president has given her. I share the joy of her family. Our President Trump is a good man. Sometimes all you need is for someone to believe in you. And another viewer on Twitter says, things will never be good enough. Trump could attain world peace, and the Dems will say, as Americans, this is not who we are. Alice Marie Johnson will be on The Story tonight for her first cable interview at 7 p.m. Eastern. Of course, tune in for that.
Oh, yeah. Won't miss that one.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jackie.
Jackie, thanks.
You're welcome.
The ACLU joining the fight against one nationwide question. Are you a U.S. citizen? The union filing a federal lawsuit against the U.S. Census edition, calling it discriminatory, saying, quote, the citizenship question is specifically designed to harm immigrants and instill fear among their members. The Trump administration says adding the question helps enforce the Voting Rights Act.
The ACLU joining another fight, this time for love and justice. The union is teaming up with dating app OkCupid to connect like-minded singles who support the nonprofit. That's an interesting way to date, isn't it? The app is rolling out an ACLU profile badge that lets members match with people that have similar political views. For every badge issued, OkCupid will donate $1 to the ACLU. The dating app says there's been an unprecedented spike in daters using politics to find their match, probably because half this country hates the other half right now.
I believe it.
I believe it too. This is just a funny story.
Dating app for everything. All right, it is 26 minutes after the hour. Criminal illegals are pouring over our borders, but DHS has a plan to stop them. Facial recognition. Some say that's an invasion of privacy. President of the National Border Patrol Council says it's a privilege, not a right, to come inside our walls. Brandon Judd is live next.
And it was all smiles for Kim Jong-un and Russian official Sergei Lavrov, but there's something up with this photo. We're going to show it to you.
Okay, but first, Rob's favorite group, the Backstreet Boys, performing Don't Go Breaking My Heart, his favorite song, at last night's CMT Music Awards.
Don't Go Breaking. That's not a Backstreet song.
'Cause I've only ever known the kind of love that leaves you battered and broken. So forgive me for my mixed emotions. Yeah, yeah. I'm not that kind of person who can fall in and out of love with you. That's not what.
Good Thursday morning to you and welcome back. We have a Fox News alert. Terrorists plotting attacks on the U.S. using drones. And we might not be prepared. The Department of Homeland Security issuing that urgent warning. Congress Department officials citing a major increase in suspicious drone activities from 8 incidents in 2013 to 1,752 in 2016. Lawmakers proposing new protections on open venues like concerts and sporting events.
Bizarre story here. Concerns growing as mysterious sounds are making American diplomats sick once again. The State Department evacuating workers from China to undergo medical tests. More Americans are expected to be sent home in the next few days. This comes after a similar series of sonic attacks on diplomats in Cuba. Americans reporting the strange noises and showing symptoms similar to concussions or brain injuries. So bizarre. We'll keep you posted. Government secrets leaker Chelsea Manning complained about armed police officers doing their job. Police performing a wellness check on Manning after she posted what appeared to be suicidal tweets. Manning telling news site The Intercept, quote, this is what a police state looks like. Guns drawn during a wellness check. They're there to try and save her life. Manning wasn't home at the time, but a friend says if she was, she wouldn't be alive. That's the claim they make. The officers say they were protecting themselves as they entered the home.
It may be time for one state to fix a bit of a paper jam. Officials in California say a printing error is to blame after nearly 120,000 people were left off the voter rolls on Tuesday's primaries. The mishap affecting some 400 voting locations in Los Angeles County. Eligible primary voters can still cast a provisional ballot.
Well, time is running out in the desperate search for survivors after the Guatemala volcano eruption. Rain hardening the ashes, making it tough for rescuers to dig through the rubble. Nearly 100 people are confirmed dead at this time, with 200 still missing. Brand new video showing enormous ash clouds surrounding a golf course in Guatemala after the biggest eruption of that volcano in 4 decades. Look at all of that ash.
And something else to see, baseball-sized hail shattering windows and smashing roofs, causing $425 million in damages.
Oh, watch out, guys. Everybody's cars are getting pelted pretty good right now. Broken window right there.
That is so dangerous, baseball-sized hail. An incredible video out of Wyoming here. Look at this twister touching down. Thankfully, nobody hurt there.
Wow, meteorologist Janice Dean is tracking today's storm threat. That is some intense weather, Janice.
Absolutely. We have the threat again today, and the hail, I mean, incredible. Not only hail, but damaging winds can be a threat with severe storms, isolated tornadoes. And that's what we saw yesterday out of Wyoming. That's the storm right there. And then we had dozens of reports of hail and damaging winds. The same threat exists today across the northern plains and the high plains, with the threat again for parts of Montana and Wyoming throughout the afternoon and the evening when we've got the daytime heating. The threat today again exists across the plains. South of that, that's where we've got the very warm temperatures. It is summertime in Houston and Kansas City and Atlanta. We're still stuck in this trough across the Northeast, 70 degrees, partly cloudy skies. Just want to make mention, this is Aletta. This is the Pacific season, the hurricane season, forecast to become a hurricane moving away from land. And if I could, Belmont is happening this weekend. I will be there tomorrow in Elmont for perhaps a triple crown. Will Justify do it? My prediction is this horse is the one to beat.
Oh, so exciting.
So exciting.
Another triple crown.
I know. It was just, what, 3 years
last
ago?
one was 3 years, 3 years ago, and then that was the first time in like 37 years. But I think Justify is going to do it. Maybe a few thunderstorms in the forecast, although I think it's going to remain south of us. I think we're going to have a dry day, but this horse can go in anything.
Seriously.
Rain, sleet, tornadoes.
We don't need another mutter, though.
No, I don't prefer not another mutter.
The Belmont and Elmont with Janice Dean. Thank you so much.
Fancy hat alert.
All right, border security in the 21st century. Starting this summer, agents will begin testing facial recognition technology as part of the Trump administration's mission to keep criminals out of the country.
So how does this all work, and how could it change the job for agents on the front lines? National Border Patrol Council President Brandon Judd joins us live this morning to explain. Brandon, thanks so much for coming on. Give us an idea how this is going to work. Just kind of paint a picture for us.
Well, first off, this is going to be a game changer, because what it's going to do is it's going to allow us to identify people that are constantly breaking our laws. With facial recognition, we'll be able to monitor whether people are coming into the country on a regular basis to smuggle drugs, smuggle illegal immigrants, and whether or not they're exiting the country at a certain time. So this is going to be a huge game changer as far as border security is concerned.
What do you say to those who argue about the right to privacy?
I think that the only reason that they're arguing that is because this wasn't their idea. They're going to fight back on the Trump administration at every step of the way. This is the same group that is advocating for body cameras for Border Patrol agents, which again is, how does that not violate privacy? It flat out doesn't. This group just doesn't like anything that the Trump administration does that is going to improve border security.
The crossings have spiked dramatically here in recent months. We've got some information here. Over 100,000 border apprehensions of illegal immigrants in just the last 2 months. Yesterday, Neil Cavuto made a good point. When you've got a really strong, healthy economy and low unemployment like we do right now, everybody wants to come in because there's a lot of work to be had. Is this technology going to help you guys do your job in the wake of that?
It is. It's going to help us, again, secure the border. But you have to look at illegal immigration. Illegal immigration always follows the United States economy. When our economy is in a great situation, people come to the country illegally. When the economy drops, people stop coming to the country. So we can expect, as the Trump administration turns our economy around, we can expect more people to cross the border because jobs are plentiful.
Now, what will this do for the daily routine, the daily workflow for some of those Border Patrol agents? Will they be able to then focus elsewhere and do other things they're supposed to be doing?
Well, that's called what we call a force multiplier. You're showing a picture of the fence right now, and that again, what it does is allows us to identify the areas where we need to be, where we actually need to have people, and where technology succeeds. So when we have facial recognition programs, we don't have to have as many people at a certain location. We can deploy them to our harder to work locations, which will allow us to secure the border even more effectively.
Is there any good information that tells you guys what percentage of illegal immigrants are coming in through these ports of entry versus tunneling and over the fence?
That's the intel work. I mean, tunnels are very, very difficult because they're hard to find in the first place. But as we find more, we do get specific intel, which then allows us to find the additional tunnels that are there. The facial recognition at the ports of entry, what it does is it forces the criminal element to move outside of the ports of entry and cross the border illegally at locations other than a specific crossing, which then has them tunnel, or even in some cases, with drugs, they shoot them over with cannons. So we face a lot of different challenges on the border.
Brandon Judd, thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thanks for the time.
It is 38 minutes after the hour. That was then. This is now. Red Dog Democrat Joe Manchin says he regrets saying this in 2016.
If you want to know why I'm supporting and why so many of you are supporting, because she cares. She cares.
So how does his change of heart have anything to do with his upcoming election?
And sticking to tradition, Girl Scout leaders blindsided by the move made by their counterparts in the Boy Scouts. Your comments pouring in on this story as they try to stick to tradition. We'll share some of those coming up next.
And knocked out cold, the gator who just wasn't ready to be captured yet.
Whoa.
You've got to stick around and see this one. Yikes.
Welcome back. ICE may have a secret weapon to nab illegal border crossers, and that might be food. An illegal immigrant from Ecuador working for a New York pizzeria in Brooklyn arrested during a delivery at the Fort Hamilton Army base. Agents discovering he had an active ICE warrant from 2010. We're also learning undercover agents offered donuts before arresting 114 illegal immigrants at an Ohio lawn center. It is one of the largest workplace raids in a decade. A liberal mayor busts out in song and dance after a court victory over the Trump administration.
A sanctuary city, yeah.
That's Philadelphia's Mayor James Kenney celebrating after a court ruled in favor of their sanctuary city status. Kenney slammed the president this week after the president canceled the Philadelphia Eagles' visit to the White House.
Too far left. Outgoing Starbucks chairman Howard Schultz slamming Democrats over their expensive political agenda.
It concerns me that so many voices within the Democratic Party are going so far to the left, and I ask myself, how are we going to pay for all these things in terms of things like single payer or people espousing the fact that the government is going to give everyone a job? I don't think that's realistic.
The executive is retiring from Starbucks on June 26th, sparking rumors he may run for president in 2020. We'll keep you posted. Samantha Bee apologizes on TV for the first time since making vulgar comments about Ivanka Trump.
I hate that this distracted from more important issues. I hate that I did something to contribute to the night.